Starting off with one of the most asked questions about GTA 6, will the NPCs be smart this time? Well, that's the wrong question to actually be asking. Because the thing that makes the crowd feel alive, or makes it look like a parking lot full of dead mannequins that go nowhere, has almost nothing to do with how smart the AI controlling the NPC is. It's about how the NPC moves. Over the last decade, Rockstar has filed a boatload of patents. Real ones with real engineers' names on them. The kooky thing is, it wasn't about making their NPCs smarter. What these patents are about is rebuilding from the ground up how the NPC moves through the world. By the end of this video, I'll show you 3 of these patents, what they actually say, so you can understand them without a doctorate in physics, and why I think they tell you exactly where Rockstar spent their time on NPCs over the last 12 years. And it's not where the internet thinks it is. Stick with me, because once you see the difference in some of these advancements, that will make the NPC behavior that you see in GTA 6 even more meaningful. A quick note of who I am and why I'm telling you this. I spent 14 years in the game industry on the production side, with time at Epic Games and smaller studios, managing how games get built and shipped. I've sat in the meeting rooms where the tech directors argue over this stuff, where it gets scoped, and then where it actually gets cut if it's too ambitious. I want to be straight with you, because this channel doesn't pretend to know things I can't possibly know, because I'm not an employee of Rockstar. So let me tell you where I was in the game development food chain. I was a producer. I did not personally write animation systems. We'll get to Epic compared to Rockstar later, and when we do, I'll tell you exactly what I know firsthand in dealing with animators and what I'm reading off the public record that anybody else can do if they have the time. Sound like a plan? Good. Let's get started. Let's start with the problem that every open world game has had for the last 20 years. It's not stupid NPCs, it's the ones that act like robots. We've seen that in countless video games. A guy walks in a wall and keeps walking. 2 pedestrians run into each other, they get snagged, they do a little awkward stuttered step, and then try to break free from each other. Someone gets shot and crumpled over, doing the same animation you've already seen 40 times already. The car ahead of you just stops for no reason, or that car just goes berserk and goes off the side of the road and crashes because it's trying to stop and can't handle what the animation tree is trying to show it. So that's called jank, which is probably an official game industry term. It's what breaks the immersion for players. It's not the NPCs or the AI being as dumb as rocks. It's their bodies not acting as the human body actually would. And when you dig into what Rockstar has been patenting, it's reading like a to-do list straight at the heart of eliminating all that jank from animation. So let's take a look, and unfortunately, here's where it's going to get a little bit brainy. So let's take a look at patent number 1, and it focuses on navigation. It's a granted US patent assigned to Take-Two, which is Rockstar's parent company. The names on it include a guy reported to be Rockstar's lead AI programmer, so this isn't some random idea they decided to file. It's a patent by devs building the game. And what it describes is a course-defined system for getting NPCs around a city. So here's the layman's version of this patent so you can understand it simply. It's summer, and say you want to plan a road trip. You just don't plan it by zooming in on your destination and planning it out from every side street. You look at the highways first, you plan your route, and then when you're on your way, your GPS, as you get near to your destination, starts to zoom in on the side streets and guides you to your final destination. That's the whole idea of this patent. Instead of every single car doing expensive detailed math every frame, the world gets mapped as layers. The NPCs plan their route in big strokes to only burn the processing power on the fine detailed moves when they get near you. The patent describes the old way, where the number of cars is capped because the system can't afford more, and the traffic just fades out of existence as you go away from the actual city or scene. We've all seen that in a video game. You glance in the mirror, and all of a sudden the city behind you has evaporated. What this buys the developers, if this feature ships as the way it reads in the patent, is denser traffic that actually routes like traffic. It anticipates gaps, lane changes, and exits instead of vanishing the second you're not looking. Which brings us to patent number 2. Now this one I think is pretty cool, and it's about locomotion. And the lead inventor's name, one note in particular, by his LinkedIn page, he worked at Rockstar for years as an AI and animation programmer, and in the patent he calls this the core technology he built there. The old way of animating a character is like picking tracks on a jukebox. You create by hand, a finished walk, a finished run, and a finished limp, and then the game picks which track it needs to play when it's called on. The more situations you have, the more tracks you need to build. The number of tracks balloons fast, and when they are stitched together, it always looks a little canned. I mean, that's another industry term. It just doesn't look natural. What this pattern describes is exactly the opposite. Instead of having finished animations, you build a suite of small movement building blocks, and the engine snaps them together on the fly based on what's happening with the character. So think of Lego blocks instead of a jukebox. So the character state feeds right into how they move. Say you have a character that's tired, injured, and carrying something heavy and walking in the rain. You don't create a separate animation for tired guy carrying heavy box in the rain. The blocks just resolve this animation. That's the difference between a puppet that just has a ton of strings and a puppet that knows exactly how to move. And that's the kind of thing that when it's done right, you never consciously notice the NPC slipping back and forth between tracks. You stop feeling like you're looking at robotic canned animations. Now here's the third and final patent I'll bring up today. And this is where I have to be careful because with this one, we don't know the particulars. This one is called Runtime Retargeting. It is not a granted patent. It's a published application filed by Take-Two in late 2024 and published in 2025. And when I last checked before this video was recorded, this patent was still pending. It's still sitting at someone's inbox at the US Patent Office. It might never be granted. So I treat this as a weaker argument that may be used as opposed to the first two, which are actual granted patents, and you should also. It's worth looking at because of what it explains it accomplishes. Normal retargeting animation, taking a mocap performance, which mocap is abbreviated for motion capture, and fitting it onto a body or skeleton is something that animators do offline, painstakingly, by hand, and ahead of the final animation that needs to be done. It's slow and expensive. The patent literally says this old approach is too costly for this type of work to be done on the fly and needs an animator to babysit it. What this describes is doing that transition automatically at runtime while you are watching the character. So let's use the analogy of a tailor to explain this. The tailor would work and sew a brand new suit for each particular person. This tailor would make one flexible suit altered to fit anyone who walks in automatically in real time. The patent lists where we'd actually see them using this retargeting during a melee, aiming, picking up items, getting in and out of vehicles, swimming. If, and it's a big if, it's running in GTA 6, it gives the NPCs a whole lot of variety with animations. It gives different sized NPCs the ability to interact with the world without an animator pre-baking every animation by hand. Now here's a big caveat, and I'm bringing it up on purpose. A patent is not a feature. None of these patents say GTA 6 anywhere in them. A company patents stuff, actually tries it out, and then abandons things all the time. What a patent proves is capability and intent. That Rockstar built this, cared enough to protect it, and does not prove that it's in the game. So if you see a thumbnail on some other video screaming GTA 6 patent confirms smart NPCs, just close the tab, go on with your day. Nobody confirmed anything. I'm showing you what they invented. So whether it ships with the game and how it ships in what form in the game, we'll find out when we find out once the game ships. So is this all just stacks of paper, or is it providing us some sort of clues? Well, here's how I look at this through my lens. We've already seen Rockstar take these steps in another game, Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 runs on an animation tech called Euphoria. The simplest way I can describe this for non-techies is that it's a ragdoll physics. Just think of, something that has no spine, and it's being paired with a nervous system. Instead of playing a canned falling down clip, Euphoria simulates the body reacting. So let's say you shoot a guy in the shoulder, he grabs the wound, stumbles, and then catches himself, and it's different every single time. And this isn't me guessing on what tech they were using. Rockstar's own director of technology said on the record that they used Euphoria for physics-based reactions on people and animals, and that they really evolved it for Red Dead Redemption 2. His examples were of a wounded rider falling off a horse and getting dragged by the stirrups. Another example would be enemies grabbing a rope that has been lassoed around them. Euphoria is a body system. It is not a brain. It makes reactions look real, but it doesn't affect any way how NPCs think. And Red Dead Redemption 2's NPCs seem very alive. They have daily schedules, they notice if you're covered in blood, they get suspicious if you follow them, they run away if you keep hassling them, they're reactive. They respond to what you're doing in front of them, but they are not free will AI characters running their own lives, so don't let anybody tell you that they actually are. What Red Dead Redemption 2 proves is what is the floor for the actual technology. Rockstar has already shipped the most physically convincing crowds in the business. They filed patents showing where the improvements are being made to these already existing systems. So, okay, back to Epic, since I promised I'd talk about this and give this some context. I worked at Epic on the production side. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I wrote Unreal AI code and I'm not as smart as Terry Davis. And the games I touched weren't really dense open world NPC simulations. But Epic licenses their whole engine to the entire planet, which means they publish how their tools work out in the open. So I can show you their off-the-shelf approach and you can judge for yourself the differences between what's going to be happening at Rockstar and what's happening at Epic in the last couple of years. So Unreal gives every studio a toolbox. They give them behavior trees for decision making. More recently, a crowd system. Epic calls it Mass AI. And it's a big push for getting huge number of crowds into scenes. It's generally impressive on paper. In Epic's documentation for their Matrix demo, they cited something like 35,000 pedestrians and over 20,000 vehicles running at once. But here's one little detail. In that same demo, the cars that are in traffic don't actually have destinations. They're not going anywhere. They just pick a lane based on how crowded the road ahead of them actually is. It looks like a city full of purpose, but it's actually a movie set like crowd. It's packed, it looks gorgeous, but nobody's going anywhere specific. That's not Epic doing simulation on a crowd wrong. It's the general purpose tool making a smart trade-off for devs. Give them the look of a big city for cheap, and anybody can run it. Even Epic labels a lot of this stuff as experimental in their own documentation. That's the real difference, and it's a difference in philosophy. Unreal hands you broad, flexible tools that thousands of studios build on. Rockstar builds custom-made specific systems in their own engine, tuned for one thing, to make NPCs act like they are real. Neither is better, but they are not the same bet. So what does this mean for open world gaming right now? Let me give you my honest opinion, which is like reading the tea leaves for the future of gaming and is not a fact. What's actually confirmed about GTA 6's NPCs right now? The answer is virtually nothing. Rockstar's marketing words are it's the biggest, most immersive evolution, which is vibe marketing and not of development spec. The most credible outside look is Digital Foundry's trailer breakdowns. Now I have to tip my hat, if I had one, to them. They're the gold standard for this. They flag things like per NPC hair simulation running on ordinary background characters and noted a real jump in crowd density between the trailers. But Digital Foundry themselves put a disclaimer on it. They said it's only a trailer. It's only a cinematic. We have not seen raw, honest-to-goodness gameplay footage. So I'm not going to show you 2 frames between 2 trailers and call them confirmed systems. So here's what 14 years in games actually taught me, and it's the whole point of this video. The studios that are trying to make the NPCs feel alive are never the ones who bolt on flashy subsystems. They're the ones who obsess over the boring things that no player will ever consciously notice. How a body bends over, how a car routes, how one guy stumbles slightly different than another guy. This stuff is invisible when it works and sticks out like a sore thumb when it doesn't. It's brutally unglamorous to build, and you cannot rush it and you cannot fake it. So when I look at a decade of patents designed to improve NPC movement, navigation, locomotion, retargeting, I don't see a studio that's been lost in the weeds for 12 years. I see a studio that has spent 12 years improving the parts that everyone else cuts. It's not a studio dysfunction. It's an expensive discipline to bring reality into gaming. So that's the reason why this channel exists, to show you the engineering under the hype and not just to react to the next shiny trailer. If that's your thing, please subscribe. There will be more of this coming as we get closer to GTA 6's launch, and even more after it even comes to market. And my question for the comments is that what's one NPC movement or moment that you've had in an open world game, good or terrible, that totally broke the illusion for you? Did somebody walk into a wall? Did the traffic just vanish? Did you see an identical death animation? Drop it below. I want to see what pulls you out of that video game and makes you say, huh, that just didn't look right. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.